oh, everything you see online is fake anyways, it's all for clicks, it's all for views. If you've ever heard the phrase, looks can be deceiving, you might understand exactly where this video is about to go. Then again, you might not, because I just finished the book, The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. I have so many thoughts. So many thoughts. And it is all kind of based on this premise of looks can be deceiving. Now, I understand that this is a little bit deeper than something I've talked about in the past, but I think that it relates in an abstract way. Now, this book was especially interesting to me. I couldn't help but draw a ton of parallels from my own life. Not the abuse. Let me be clear, not the abuse. My parents were never abusive. Honestly, I really consider my mom and dad saints for all that they put up with. But if you don't know, I grew up in a family of 8 kids. I am the third of 8 kids. And I also grew up Mormon, or she phrases it as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because she is still a practicing member of that church. Now, oh my gosh, do I have some thoughts. Barring that, I feel like I just drew a lot of parallels to my own life. And then I got to thinking a lot about cosmetology because that's what I do with a lot of my time. I teach cosmetology. I've done that for 10 years. I've been very, very involved in a world that's very image-based, we'll say. And not to say that that is really what Sherry Frankie's book is about. I think that there are a lot more nuances to it than just image or image-based things. But that was something that kept popping into my head is, man, maybe if we didn't care about image so much, this wouldn't even matter. The reason I bring that up, I mean, if you've read her book, I'm sorry, spoilers, but the church is a very anti-LGBTQ plus, very, very anti that. And Sherry Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt were very obviously in a lesbian relationship towards the end, but they kept it so quiet because of the way that that would appear to the church. They wanted to be good, active members of this church, and it appeared badly. Or even this idea, and Sherry talks about it in her book, that she's like, honestly, when the cameras were rolling, it wasn't necessarily a big idea or big deal to be like, oh, can I have this? Because it was way easier to ask when the cameras were rolling, and she couldn't say no because without it sounding completely unhinged, right? So this is kind of what this whole video is based on, because I found that more and more, for better or for worse, I've noticed this huge drive of everything is about image, both in my life and other people's lives. I know for me, oh, maybe I don't want to share this. For me, I am not the neatest person. I'm not a neat freak in any sense of the word. But frankly, that also means so I don't necessarily want people to come on over and stop by on a daily basis because it makes me nervous. It gives me the heart palpitations. Also, I kind of am a little bit antisocial just in general. I would much rather just sit in my room alone and not talk to people, and that is who I am. Now, I understand that this is a little bit deeper than something I've talked about in the past, but I think that it relates in an abstract way. Not necessarily in the way of appearances, everything, but in the way of the way that we appear to people is what drives us to make some of these crazy decisions that we wouldn't otherwise make. And this is just my observations. This isn't based on science, although if you have some cool research articles about this, I would love to hear it because that would be interesting to look at. But I have just found that people make these decisions not based off of anything that's going on in their life. More, they base those decisions on how they appear to other people. Like if you ever caught yourself saying, how will this look? You understand. So as we're kind of getting into this topic and I'm kind of explaining my reasoning, just know that I'm not necessarily advocating for let's ignore people's appearance. I think that appearance is important, just not in the way that social media and through the way that books and the way that everything portrays appearance. I think appearance is important in other ways. So I'm going to just talk about some parallels that I drew kind of as I was going through this, because as I said, cosmetology is essentially all about appearance. You want your hair to appear 5 shades lighter. You want your nails to appear way longer. You want your lips to pop because you've got this crazy makeup on. Whatever the case, I think that we are driven to do certain things, and I think getting behind like why are we driven to do those things is really important, because like I said, or maybe I didn't say this. I didn't say this, but I meant it. Huh? I think that it's okay to want to change your appearance, but behind that is your motivations of why. For example, if the only deepness to, oh, I want my hair to be lighter is, oh, I just think it would look cool. I think I would look good with it. It would just be, you know, a fun change. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's okay to be like, I just like blonde hair. I want to have lighter hair. Great, whatever. But if the deepness behind it becomes, oh, well, I don't look like myself unless I have this blonde hair. What does that mean? Why is that important? Now, like I said, I consider those two different things. Looking like yourself versus I just like the way it looks is not the same thing. If you're starting to identify and put stock in how you appear to society, I think that starts to become a little bit of a problem. I mean, think about Botox, filler, plastic surgery, all of that. These are all things that maybe you got made fun of your nose for a long time and you don't want to have a bridge hump. You know what I mean? Maybe you got made fun of your lips because you have smaller lips and you're like, no, well, I just need smaller lips. That way I won't be made fun of anymore. Bro, don't listen to them. They don't know anything. They don't know anything. I don't think that like small little tweak made plastic surgery. I'm not advocating against it. I'm just saying, can we dive into the reason why? Because I think our motivations are really hurting us in the end. I have talked to, let me think about this, quite a few people actually who have gotten lip filler, have gotten Botox, have gotten, you know, whatever the case may be. It doesn't help. I promise it doesn't help. Now, keep in mind, I actually had surgery on my nose. Not a nose job. Not a nose job.
Sure.
And it was funny because when I was telling people, because I had some sinus issues that were only going to get cleared up if I had surgery. So I had that surgery. Thankfully, those sinus issues have for the most part cleared up. I still have allergies, but when I was telling my coworkers, oh, I have to have surgery, they were like, oh, were you getting a nose job? Excuse me? I like my nose. I don't have a problem with my nose. Why would I be getting a nose job? My nose fits my face. Now, I do have a deviated septum. Had I gone in and gotten that fixed, that's another issue. That's to help me breathe better, right? So do you see how there's like these nuances that kind of come into play when we're talking about appearances and making these changes and things like that? I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. Okay, I'm going to give this caveat. I think body modifications are crazy. However, I also think that they play a little bit of a role in this conversation where, yeah, maybe I would never get a split tongue. However, you best believe no one told them you would look better with a split tongue. Instead, what probably happened is they discovered it and they were like, man, I just think that looks cool. I just like the way that looks. And I think that that's different. I think that there are some places or some things when it comes to our appearance and things like that that are innocent and they're not necessarily, I say innocent in the sense of they're not stemming from a bad place, but it's really easy to take it one step further and then get into this territory that's a little bit sticky where we're like, no, this is appearance for appearance sake. I mean, truly, Botox, you can't tell me it's anything else. And don't get me wrong, I have thought about getting Botox before, but honestly, as I've gotten a little bit older, I'm like, yeah, I mean, maybe it would freeze my muscles, but frankly, I don't know that it's important right now. I don't see it being any pro addition to my life at this current time. And I can't help but drawing a really, really strong conclusion between what some of Sherry Frankie was saying and some influencers that lie every time that something comes out of their mouth. I mean, granted, Sherry influencer, that's not her name. Sherry Frankie's family grew up, you know, creating YouTube videos, making tons of money through that platform. And so, I mean, one, it's kind of not hard to draw that conclusion is, oh, everything you see online is fake anyways. It's all for clicks. It's all for views, which I think to a certain extent is true as well. I think that maybe I'm not even thinking this, but I think that there are good creators out there. However, it also makes me think that a lot of the time, most of what we see online is all for appearance. I mean, let me just flip my camera and I can show you really quick. So obviously, I don't show this in my shop because it's messy, it's cluttered. There's a lot going on in this shot. Obviously, I have my camera turned so that you can't see that, so that you see this nice background. I will say, I do like this background. It's actually wallpaper, and my landlord does not know that I put it up. It's okay, it's removable wallpaper, so it's fine. But regardless, I'm like, even I do it. Even you can see that really what this looks like, but how things appear is important, not just to everyone around you, but to the viewers, to the people behind the screens, to everyone. You also get a ton of people that, for instance, lie about being rich, that are going broke just to appear rich. You have people that are, okay, here's the thing. I think that Michaela Noguera, I don't like her because obviously I am a huge fan of makeup in general, and so I have a hard time with her. She does drive me a little nuts. However, recently there was all of this controversy surrounding her and the Hannah Montana premiere. She went to it. It seemed like she had a lot of fun. Obviously, I don't know her personally. However, something that everybody was talking about was like, she doesn't look like she's supposed to. Like, her photos look different than in real life. I'm not saying that's true or not true. I've never met her in real life. However, there's something to be said about this because, frankly, and this is just my opinion. My opinion is that she does use filters. But honestly, she's not an ugly girl. And the internet has her convinced that she's this disgusting slob and that people hate her because she's ugly. And that's just not true. I'm gonna just throw a few videos up here and we'll watch them together because I want to show you what I mean by this. I'm gonna scooch over to this side. Okay, I'm gonna just pause it right there because frankly, she looks beautiful. There's nothing crazy about how she looks. I mean, truly, she looks beautiful in this clip. But people are tearing her apart. Now, this is not necessarily the video that people are so freaked out and upset about, but let me show you this video because I think this shows a clearer picture of kind of what I'm talking about.
Why doesn't her makeup eat when it's not on her camera? Now listen, I am a non-makeup girly. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know makeup, so I'm not trying to hate. I'm just asking as someone who watches, and I saw this come up on my TikTok, why doesn't her makeup look how it looks here on everybody else's camera? Now, if you guys are not familiar, Michaela went to the Hannah Montana premiere and she was interviewed by several, magazines. ET was there, all of that stuff. And when you're watching her on camera, she looks like a totally different person. And I would think that a makeup artist and the person who has like the most access to makeup would be able to make it translate not only on her phone, but on every other stage where it would matter. So again, I'm just asking for context. Maybe it's a filter. What do you guys think? Why doesn't her makeup look as good as it does when it's not on her profile, on her TikTok?
In my professional opinion, she is using a filter, and I'm going to show that in just a few seconds. There's a few clips where you can see the filter glitching. That said, she does, for the most part, look the same. She doesn't look crazily different. I know in all of these videos, people are calling her out and saying she looks different. She does. She does a little bit. But the difference is very minimal, actually. She obviously doesn't have her face smoothing filter on, and she obviously doesn't have the best lighting in some of these photos. But other than that, I'm like, I personally, she looks the same. I don't think she looks crazily different, but it's just sad to me that people are tearing her apart to the point where people are like, you're ugly, you don't look good in person. There's this one video I especially want to share on this where she kind of says, I know that I'm not a very pretty person. Now, here's the thing. I do, in my opinion, think this is a little bit of clout chasing. I don't think that she actually believes this, or I hope she doesn't actually believe this. However, we're gonna watch it.
I want to address something that's been heavy on my mind for quite a while, my appearance and what I look like. I've said this a million times and I will defend it until I'm in the grave, that there are no filters on my videos. There's constant confusion about why I look different in person than in my videos. I want to make something very clear. I am aware that I'm not an attractive person. Sorry, I don't know why I'm fucking getting emotional over it. I'm aware that I'm not, like, aesthetically pleasing to look at or, like, photogenic. It's really easy to take a bad photo of me. I don't have the best side profile, which I've talked about and I've shown. Sorry. Blech. Anyways. I don't know why I look different in person. I don't. Like...
So it's kind of what I mean is that I do think that this is just a little bit of she's, making a big deal about it. However, that said, there are so many people that have been like, well, she's so ugly in person. She's so unattractive. And I'm like, frankly, it kind of comes down to appearance. Now, I'm just going to show these couple of videos just to show you what I mean by she's definitely using a filter, because we watched it glitch in real time.
Michaela claiming she does not use filters.
I do not film my videos with filters, and you're gonna want to sit down for this video.
Michaela herself making this claim is hilarious, but not as hilarious as the people who are now going through all of her videos and showing exactly how many times and how many videos she has in fact used filters. And guys, I hate to break it to you, but it's...
Okay, I'm gonna just pause it. Did you catch what I caught? This is Michaela's channel that she's uploaded to. Did you see? You clocking what I'm clocking? It literally says Amala Light in her uploaded, like, you know how at the bottom of TikTok it shows you which filters were used? Literally says at the bottom. I'm just saying. Now let's look at this one.
If the girls weren't bad enough, they're calling Michaela Noguera out for her neck filter. Oh my god, this is crazy, guys. So apparently Michaela uses filters on her videos. I don't know how, but apparently the neck filter has been seen slipping on and off of her girls. How do you even get a filter on your neck? Like, that's the question I got after watching this video. Oh, so what do you guys think about this neck filter?
I feel for her, I do, because frankly, I mean, you can see I have lines in my neck. My family has thyroid problems. It runs in my family. So frankly, this little tech neck going on here, I get it. I get that it's annoying. However, you can see how she has like a hollow and it slips, and then you see her necklines. Yeah, we can see what's happening. We're not dumb. I can see what's happening. What? And they don't have a clue. Who? They'll fall in love, and here's the bottom line. Our trio's down to 2. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. All right, that was the last example that we were going to look at with Michaela, because I'm not trying to tear anybody down. That's not my goal. But there's one more person that I want to take a look at, and that is Clara Doe. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but she is the girl that she made a platform off of the fact that she had a small chest, and then she went and got a boob job. Let's be real. The reason she did it was appearances. She had been told for so long and let it sink in that her chest was not acceptable. I get that. I've seen it time and time again where people are like, I just hate this about how I look, or I just hate this, or I hate that, or whatever the case may be. I get it. But let's take a look.
Oh no.
It's a cultural divide. I'ma get it on the floor.
You really about to do it?
40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music.
You really about to do it?
Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
They get on it like that.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like fuck. Must have on a...
Now, this video, I think, was in a response to some backlash that she definitely got, or maybe she planned it and she knew that people would be upset about it. But regardless of that, she's right. Just because you get a boob job doesn't mean that you hate yourself. It's not really what it's about. However, rarely have I seen where people get a boob job and it's not about purely aesthetics and how they feel about themselves. We're just going to leave that statement to itself. Yeah, we'll let that statement talk for itself, talk about itself, whatever. And honestly, she's so pretty. She's so pretty before and after. And when we're looking at these videos, I'm not necessarily judging the fact that she got a boob job. I'm judging the fact that she did this for appearances. She did this because she felt pressured to do it. Like I said, I don't know these people. I could be wrong. Maybe I am wrong. But regardless, I think that anytime that we're talking about things like this, things about influencers, things about why people do the things that they do, the amount of times that I could be like, yeah, it's for the appearances. I mean, I could say that about so many things. I could say that about previous bosses I've had. They're not influencers, but you best believe that they said certain things because of how they were afraid they appeared. Or even myself, how I appeared. Or the car that you drive. Not all the time, but sometimes it's all about appearance. And I think that we can agree that this focus on appearance, it's not all it. It's not important. And I think that in order for us to get past this, we have to evaluate why we're doing things. Now, okay, I'm sorry. This is such a just video that I've been thinking about a lot. And this is a little bit deeper than most of my topics, but I do think it's important. The evaluation of why we do what we do. I was thinking about earlier today, I was thinking about the fact that I've thought about getting some filler. Not a lot, but just a tiny bit in my upper lip. And I have thought about it a lot. And really it's come down to maybe I'll do it in the future, but there just doesn't seem to be a real reason for me to do it other than sometimes I don't like how my smile looks. And if sometimes I don't like how my smile looks, I do love some lip liner. And maybe, like I said, maybe that will change in the future, or maybe I'll get to the point where I'm like, no, I just can't live with it anymore. But I think evaluating deeper, this is what I want because of this, and actually naming those things is important for us to look at. And I think us as a society has not taken the time to do that in a really long time. In this day and age, we have things like filters that warp the way that we see ourselves. I mean, we talked about that with Michaela. She's so warped the way that she sees ourselves, and we've warped the way that we look at her that we can't even distinguish this is what she looks like anymore. And I think that that's the case for a lot of things where we're like, let's just take a step back. Let's take a look at this and see, is this really important, or are we making a mountain out of a molehill, or is there actually some good reasoning behind us wanting to move a certain direction or to do certain things in our lives? I know, excuse me. I grew up in Washington State. I lived there until I was an adult. I moved, I think, when I was 19 out of Washington State. I haven't lived in Washington since, but some of why I don't want to live in Washington has to do with appearance. Not all of it. I actually have further reasons for not wanting to move back to Washington, but the weather. I hate the weather. Yeah, that's 100% about how it appears. I mean, it's about other things too, like seasonal depression and other things like that. However, I think that we too often discount or put too much stock in the appearance of things when it's not necessarily the most important thing. The most important thing is, how are we going to feel after we have things done? How are we going to cope if it didn't turn out exactly the way that we wanted? Is that still going to be okay? And we just need to pay more attention to this. Okay, if you got all the way through, thanks for watching. Go ahead and put in the comments below the reasons why you have found appearance to be important or not important. And I'm not talking about job interviews and things like that, because I think we all know that your appearance matters in a job interview. But thanks for watching. Bye.